Hi, everyone, and welcome to Fresh from the Studio, Red Dot Edition. Our Red Dot Art Spree is happening next Thursday from 6 to 9, and tickets are still available. Three of the artists who are in the show are going to tell us about their work and upcoming projects that they have going on. Thank you so much for being a part of this. Today we have Darcie Book, Chantal Lesley, and Jennifer Villanueva. And we thought we would start with Chantal.
Sure, thank you so much. Yeah, first of all, thank you for everyone for being here, and thank you to women and their work for allowing us this time and space to share our stories and process. And yeah, looking really forward to the talk. So I'll go ahead and start sharing my screen. Okay, you can see? Okay, fantastic. So yeah, so I'm Chantal Lesley, and I'll be talking a little bit about my projects and process. And so I'll just start off with me as an artist. I would definitely consider myself an emerging artist. I just recently graduated from Texas State University in December 2021. I was a double major, design and fine art photography. And so yeah, my roots are definitely in photography. I like to say I'm a conceptual photographer, and I like to describe that as I just take pictures of whatever I want. Um, but on a more serious note, I like to think that at the moment I'm in this transitionary phase where I'm going from strictly photography into more of a multidisciplinary practice. Um, and yeah, my work tends to focus, my work is very autobiographical. It tends to focus on my identity and my memory and my experiences. And I feel that my work is one that's necessary because it helps me reclaim my power and my agency. And so I made this little graph or this little picture just to show why talking about multiculturalism and identity is so important to me. And it's because both of my parents are immigrants. My father is born and raised in Germany, my mother born and raised in Peru, and I was born and raised on the border in Brownsville, Texas. And so I'll go into one of my earlier projects that I made still as a student at Texas State, actually like right after the pandemic like really hit, and so everyone was at home. And but anyway, so this project is called Anything But Brown. Underlying themes would be the self, trauma, acclimation, and memory. And so these are the five images. I like to present them together, and I think of them as one piece. And there's definitely performance aspects of it. And all of my work tends to have a story behind them. And so this specific one is about how, as a child, I was subconsciously aware of the ideals of beauty that the media was presenting. And I was very aware that that was not me. Um, and so typically when I was left alone to play with my dolls, I would sometimes cover myself in baby powder to just like and look at myself in the mirror and see what it would look like if I was lighter skinned, lighter complected. Um, and I'm happy to say that I was able to exhibit this work at MexicArte last year at their annual emerging Latinx artists show. So I was very happy about that. Um, Moving on into another project, this one's called En Medio de la Nostalgia. Underlying themes are generational trauma, my multiculturalism, my identity. I was very influenced by reading La Frontera by Gloria Anzaldúa, who is also from the Rio Grande Valley. And I was very influenced by my family archive, and just wanted to touch on that a little bit and how I bring that into my practice. And so my family archive is very important to me. I bring it with me to a lot of different places, and right now this is how I have it set up. It's very organized. Each little box is like pictures of me, pictures of my sister, pictures of my mom, pictures of me and my mom. So it's all very well organized, and I look at it constantly because I'm always learning something new about myself and my family and our story just by being a witness to these photos and just reintegrating them into my life. And so they played a huge part in this project. This project, I was really concerned about color and just representing these family stories in a surrealistic way. I'll touch on the one on the bottom right specifically. That one's called Portrait of My Mother as a Child. And that came about because I noticed while going through my family archive, I didn't have any photos of my mother as a child, and I didn't know why. I didn't know if it was something that was lost through the immigration process or, you know. And so I kind of came up with my own interpretation of what a photo of my mother as a child would look like as a still life. And so I used her favorite childhood toy, a set of jacks, to just kind of in place of the body. These are three more portraits or three more photos of that project, and I'll touch on the one in the middle. This was the start of integrating my siblings into my work. My sister does not love to be photographed, but if I'm able to explain to her exactly like the meaning of what I want to convey and what the photo will look like and how she'll be represented, then usually she's game. This portrait in the middle is called I've Spent So Much Money Trying to Look Like You, and it came from conversations that she and I were having. Because actually working on this project was a huge turn in our relationship and where we started bonding. And I'll actually touch on our relationship a little bit later. But specifically, this conversation, I was again discussing beauty ideals, and I was like, you know, I wish I looked more like you because you're taller and thinner and lighter skinned, and you're more of the ideal beauty to me. And she flipped it on me, and she's like, that's how I've always felt about you. Like she's always really struggled with being Latina but passing as white, and just like not being like a traditional Latina beauty, quote unquote. And so we just had this moment of like being in the same exact position, but in also opposite. And so I decided to portray that in a photo. Moving on to my theme, as you can tell, I tend to think very project based. And so next is my project Quisiera Ser Caramelo. And these underlying themes, this is a project where I started to still integrate photography in my work, but I'm kind of tiptoeing between mediums. And my underlying themes here are definitely generational trauma, thinking of my roots and my healing journey. And my influences are definitely my Peruvian culture, specifically the dance of La Marinera. As you can see, it's a very beautiful, joyous dance about, and it's supposed to be like a metaphor for love and life, and it's supposed to be very joyous. And each person is holding a handkerchief as they twirl it around during the dance. And so I was thinking if this dance is a metaphor for life, how can I tell stories within that? And so I decided to create these image transfer self-portraits onto these handkerchiefs and make molds of my hands to hold them. And I did this at my first artist residency last year that I had at Latitude in Chicago. And that's a photo lab, and they taught me how to do the image transfer. So that was a huge eye-opening experience for me because I was really questioning what a photograph is or what a photograph could be and its limitations. And so I was really excited to make this work and integrate different photo processes and starting to bring fiber and textiles into the work. My latest work that I just showed in Lubbock, it actually just came down and just got shipped back to me, is called One Day We Will All Be Golden. And the underlying themes of this are definitely connection between my siblings, us uncovering our generational trauma, and our healing journey through that. And I was really inspired by Peruvian textiles and text specifically. And so I wanted to touch on one specific piece that I made and also how I integrate my family archive again. And so this, the final piece is called Only Time Could Separate Us, because my sister and I are actually 10 years apart. I'm the oldest. And I've always had to have like a motherly role to her, so it was very hard to come out of that and just. But we were able to, and now we have a strong sisterly bond, and we see each other as equals. But anyway, and so as I was looking through my family archive, I came across these two photos because we kind of seemed like we could be in similar age range, and I always wondered what it was like to grow up with someone and have that kind of bond. And so originally, I actually sat on this thought for years because I originally thought it was going to be a photograph. And so I was just kind of waiting until I was like really good at Photoshop. But eventually I decided that I didn't really want to trick the viewer. I wanted to invite the viewer to look a little closer. And so this end piece on the right, I integrated textile and beadwork into it. And yeah. And so these are other portraits from that project. I just essentially took straight portraits of me, my sister, and my brother and weave them in together just as a metaphor of us kind of like coming together and untangling these themes that we have all uncovered and yeah, outlined ourselves with the Peruvian textile. And these are other pieces from the work, from the project that are not specifically photographical. And I've been told a lot and when I mentored that text and words are very important to me. So this is kind of like me trying to tiptoeing and trying to figure out how I can integrate that more into my work. So yeah, and so I'll get into what I'm doing currently and what's coming up for me. So right now in this moment, I am an artist in residence at the Line Hotel that's partnered with Big Medium, and I'll be here until October 9th. Not solidified. I probably have artists open studio hours Thursdays and Fridays in the afternoons, so be on the lookout for that. And we'll probably have a closing party October 5th as well. I'm obviously participating in the Red Dot Spree next week. I'm very excited about that. I will be a student at Austin School of Film in early 2024, which I'm extremely excited about because a critique I used to always get as a photography student was that the way I take pictures, there's like a clear path to film and video with that. And so I'm very excited to just kind of see where that takes me in my practice. And I'm happy to announce that I've been accepted as an artist in residence at Vermont Studio Center. That'll happen next April. And I'll also be an artist in residence at Chateau d'Orquevaux in France in June of next year. So yeah. And then finally, just wanted to share what's going on in the picture on the right, because it's kind of the setup that I have now. One of the things that I'm hoping to work on my current residency, although she doesn't know it yet, I'm hoping to record an oral history with my mom and her immigration story, just because I've never heard it directly from her and her perspective. And I don't know exactly how I'll utilize that footage, but I know that it'll be a very powerful moment and hoping that it'll yeah, help my way into new work. So yeah, that's me.
Thank you so much. Next up, we have Darcie Book.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. And Chantal, that was awesome. It's so great to learn more about your work. Share. Okay. So I am a multidisciplinary artist, educator, and arts organizer. Lots of my work is about creating community connections through nonprofit work, in my artistic practice, and in my role as a mentor for other artists. I believe there's meaning in material and process. And my practice revolves around constant experimentation and discovery, and the joy this creative energy brings into the world. Today, I'll be talking to you about recent work from 3 shows this summer. The first one is Second Sight, a visual opera. It's my recent solo show at Doherty Art Center. So with this show, I really wanted to transform the gallery. And here's how it usually looks with a staff exhibition in the space, mostly composed of a long corridor. Actually, Chantal showed in this exact exhibition space. See, the visual opera functions as a single artwork. It's an abstract narrative that unfolds as the viewer participant moves through the space. In the darkness, in the unknown, we are in a world between dimensions. Inner world surface and secret lives are revealed. The large installation is an immersive experience, incorporating unexpected materials and offering lots of opportunities for discovery. It's a living story that changes as you observe and participate. The installation deals a lot with our complicated human relationship to the land. We look into a landscape and the land looks right back at us. The land is aware, it is alive, and it sees us. Of course, humans are a part of the land, but we've also drawn this illusory distinction between ourselves and quote unquote nature. Also related to the land, the watercolors incorporate pigments from genuine precious stones. So this artwork is imbued with the healing properties of amethyst, hematite, turquoise, and piemontite. And many of these pieces include taxidermy coyote eyes to literally deal with this idea of the land looking back at us. Second Sight, as a title, references expanded modes of vision and also offers protection. So we can see into the future and we can sense what is not right in front of us. Second Sight explores how we relate to the darkness. Darkness elicits a fear of the unknown, but it can also be warm and comforting. There are so many eyes in this whole show, individual eyes and swarms or clouds of eyes. Most of them are looking out and watching over us from the darkness, which is a little creepy, but it's also comforting. My work is often interactive and immersive, and that's definitely true for this show. There are tons of little details to discover, most of which I'm not showing you today because it's important to experience my work in person. I will tell you that several artworks in the show are made from a reflective material that looks almost black until you shine a flashlight on it. So that's, this piece, it's the same one on the left and the right, just with and without flashlight. And it looks totally different from all the different angles. Once the light hits the material, an otherworldly iridescent rainbow appears to radiate from within. It's impossible to photograph, but I provide flashlights when using this material, so you can experience it. You can experience the effect in real life. And this is also true for my current show with V No at Icosa, where there are a few of these reflective pieces. And that one is currently up, so you can still come see it. With Borderless, V and I invite you to experience an abstract landscape that considers the limitless possibilities of existence in a space without confines. Materially and conceptually, we consider the realms where boundaries meet and redefine them to build new worlds. The overall goal is to remove barriers separating humans from land and the barriers separating humans from each other. This window piece is a collaboration titled Desire Lines. Desire lines may be the most beautiful city planning terminology. It refers to the paths unplanned by municipalities, resulting from pedestrians or cyclists repeatedly cutting across fields or vacant lots. Desire lines or desire paths are wished for, so they are spontaneously created, brought into existence through collaborative and repetitive movement. In this installation, we collaborated to build a small world with lines and shapes drawn through space. And these collages are titled Vignette 1, 2, and 3. The vignettes are abstract narratives with no beginning, middle, or end. Each one communicates a brief moment, an excerpted experience from something or someplace larger. All of my watercolor work incorporates pigments from genuine precious stones. So it's, imbued with their healing properties. And this next installation at left is titled Accord. These individual works function together as a single mental or emotional landscape. Accord references oneness with the land, a sense of togetherness. The moments I have personally forgotten my separate sense of existence during meditation or while enjoying time outside. Our borders of the self fade. We are, in fact, borderless. Abstracted mountain-like forms and eye forms from my second sight series gather and swarm together. This installation is one overall piece, but each included object also functions as an independent artwork and is available for sale in its own right. So there's a lot more to see in this show, so come see it. Plus, we're donating 10% of all gallery sales for the duration of the show to Maui Strong Fund, a trusted organization assisting with rapid response and recovery of those affected by the devastating wildfires of Maui. Borderless, an exhibition about world building and about forming unexpected connections, is on view until September 16th. And we also have an artist talk on September 11th. I'll post more in the chat with all those details. And so the third show I'm talking about, I'm also very excited to have a brand new piece in a show that's opening tonight at Umlauf Sculpture Garden and Museum. So come celebrate with us. And this is basically a 3D mural with lots of subtle ink and watercolor on Arches paper and fields of neon pink reflected light and gold and silver leaf. So there's a lot going on. Its dimensions are about 10 by 10 feet. It's inspired by Umlauf's Icarus. My piece is intentionally situated within a larger art historical context where I also reference works like Bruegel's Landscape with the Fall of Icarus. In my work related to Bruegel, elements of an abstracted landscape become the focal point. So you can see in Bruegel's piece, like Icarus is all the way down to the bottom right corner. You just see his legs poking out of the water. My piece addresses the dichotomy of Icarus myth interpretations with a leaning toward the view that it's beneficial to explore the unknown. The differing philosophical and artistic interpretations are basically one, encouragement of Icarus's flight near the sun and lauding the spirit of exploration and discovery despite the risks, versus two, this moralistic cautionary tale where the dangers of the unknown should be avoided and elders' words heeded. Not only are these shows fun to experience in real life, as they're interactive and immersive, but my current work also offers a great opportunity to start or build your art collection. There's no sales split with Icosa Collective, so 100% of proceeds will go back into my practice as an artist and arts organizer, allowing me to make more art and to continue my work serving the community, minus that 10% for this show that we're giving to Maui Strong Fund, of course. So to give you a sense, at the moment I have original artwork for sale starting at $15, which sounds ridiculous, but is still fair. There are these like really tiny pieces where you can kind of build your own miniature installation of my work for, like easily less than $100. from $15 to upwards of $25,000. So there's really a range that's, affordable and accessible for anyone to start an art collection. So feel free to contact me directly for any purchases or with questions. And I'll put some info into the chat about all these happenings right now. So thanks again. Let me get out of screen share.
Thanks so much, Darcie. Great presentation. And last we have Jennifer Villanueva.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Darcie and Chantal, for your presentations. I'm deeply inspired by you guys. And thank you for Women in Their Work for having me here today. With further ado, let me see. Perfect. Sweet. So, hi everyone. My name is Jennifer Villanueva. I'm a Mexican-American artist born and raised in Chicago, Illinois, and I'm currently based in Austin, Texas. The migration of millions of families to the United States represents a complex and layered narrative of desire, opportunity, and struggle. Born to immigrant parents from Mexico and Chicago, I'm a product of this migration and the sacrifices made by my family and the hope of a better future. My family's story is one of many that reflects the aspirations and realities faced by immigrants who work tirelessly to provide for their loved ones and secure a better life in a new land. In my work, I explore the intricate dynamics of immigrant families through my own family, showcasing their daily struggles, sacrifices, and their unwavering pursuit of the American dream. Through my personal experience and those of my family, I aim to delve deeper into the complexities of migration, identity, and our political and personal experiences. My current art practice is a personal narrative. It explores the everyday life, migration, history, labor, and identity of my immigrants' families' experiences between the United States and Mexico. In my role as an artist, writer, and daughter, my work documents these sacrifices, vulnerabilities, and emotional tolls that come with the daily struggles of being documented or undocumented and navigating these realities of the so-called American dream and the American nightmare. Trust and collaboration play a crucial role in documenting my family's intimate and vulnerable moments as they reveal their lives through various media and genres, including color film, digital photography, environmental portraiture, family archives, legal documents, and still life imagery. My work serves as this visual dialogue that investigates the intersections of political and personal experiences, the exploitation of labor, and these larger scales and social struggles that my family face as they strive to make a better life for themselves in the US. Ultimately, I aim to serve as a bridge between Mexico and the US, surveying these familiarities and traditions of my family's domestic life and their emotional availability as they continue to strive for citizenship. This work for me is a healing process for my family and I as we work together to create this body of work that creates a supportive and safe environment that encourage all of us to have open communication while facing our generational trauma and supporting each other to overcome numerous challenges that are associated with migration and building a fulfilling life in another country that we call home. My practice examines the sociological, historical, political, medical, and economic processes that have led to our family's migration and how their legal or illegal status affect their daily lives between the US and their homeland. Although citizenship is often perceived in the United States as a legal status that grants certain rights and privileges, its true essence is far more complex and multifaceted, intertwined both between legal and social dimensions. These reflections and personal encounters heavily influence my ongoing photographic projects as they serve as vehicles for capturing and conveying visual narratives that illuminate the realities of domestic spaces, the intricate tapestry of family histories, and the profound legacy of labor. This long-term project is titled ¿Quieres salvar el mundo? Empieza por tu familia. Do you want to save the world? Start with your family. This documents the everyday lived experiences of my parents' migration and labor in the US, as well as my grandmother's recovery from hospitalizations and the journey of living with dialysis due to chronic kidney disease. Through the use of color, environmental portraiture, still lifes, family archives, and legal documents, these works delve into the inner world of my family as they work through generational trauma, the cost of exploited labor, and their continuous pursuit of the American dream. My artistic goal is to create a book format that allows the viewer to read two narratives from Mexico and the US on the opposite ends of the book, meeting in the middle where my grandmother's story intersects with my parents', creating a symbolic representation of crossing borders and the formation of new identities in a new country. And with this image, this is my parents finding out that they are pre-diabetic and checking their pressure. And then with this image, it's also another example of my visit to Monterrey, Nuevo León, which is where my entire family is from. And
Hey,
my
Jennifer, can I
paternal
interrupt
grandfather
you?
passed in 2016. Yeah.
I don't think your slideshow is going.
Oh
I'm
no.
Yeah, I'm seeing the first slide, but yeah, cool.
Did it froze?
I think it might have.
Uh-oh. Okay. Oops. What was the last image that you seen?
I've only seen the
If
intro.
you Oh, really? It didn't. Okay. So sorry about that.
No.
So none of the images played?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Here, I'll go. Let's see. If I do this again, can you see it? Or is it still the intro?
Still intro.
Okay. My
Let's see the
apologies. I'm so
second
sorry
one.
that happened. Here. Will this be better for everyone if we just keep it like that?
Just keep it running. Or if you do it manually.
I might have to do it manually.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I'm so sorry about that, everyone. Sorry, now it won't let me. Oh my gosh. Okay. Sorry, I'm now towards the end of my presentation, so I'll just go.
Okay, go.
I'm so sorry about this. But yeah, as I was mentioning in the beginning of my presentation, I'm heavily focused in documenting the life of my immigrant parents and my family, my grandmother. It's really important for me to document like the domestic spaces because I feel like that's where we mostly kind of meet and we're together after a long day of work. Or for my brother and I, we would be in school or at work. And in this case, showcasing our neighborhood and where we grew up and where we're living in Chicago. And my relationship with my grandmother and how my project kind of began through her because of her constant hospitalizations regarding her health with chronic kidney disease and just exploring her life as someone who's constantly surviving financially and medically, and how we're constantly reunited through my grandmother. My grandmother is this glue to our family. She's just like the one that brings everyone together. And also this image is my entire family that lives in an entire household in Chicago. We're all cramped in our tiny kitchen in 2021 for New Year's during a very hard COVID time. This image is a reflection of like when my mother and my aunt and my maternal grandmother would come and visit, and they have a ritual of them together, and a little bit of home is having hot chips together and have beer and just talk chisme, gossip amongst each other, just giving the updates about what's going on in Mexico between my mother's side of the family, who she doesn't see because most of them reside in Monterrey. And then, as I was mentioning, this image is when I visited I went to visit Monterrey, like a lot of my family are there. And because my father wasn't able to go and visit my grandfather when he passed away in 2016, because they all live in the United States, none of them were able to attend their funeral due to their status. So I was the only one who was able to visit. And so I decided to do a self-portrait of my grandfather and I for my father. And with this image, this is a tribute to our father and mother. We were determined to fulfill our civic duty by casting our votes in the significant 2020 presidential election. And for being the older sister, I feel like I have this huge responsibility of guiding my younger brother towards making positive choices. So with this example, when he was 18, a newly minted 18-year-old citizen, I wanted him to actively participate in the electoral process. And I wanted him to be this integral part of our democracy, ensuring that his vote would be a genuine representation of his voice, his ideas, and the pressing needs of our family. And with that, I have a deep love for photography. Most recently in my work, the use of digital photography allows me more of an immediate and direct documentation of our everyday life, while medium format film adds more of a traditional nostalgic dimension to these images. Using medium format captures significant detail in an image that defines fine art photography. The process and choice of shooting medium format is the slower pace for myself that encourages me to slow down and be more deliberate in shooting, resulting in a more thoughtful and intentional approach to image making. So for example, with this image, it took I want to say 15 seconds to 30, where I was able to capture the fireworks lighting my entire family and house in Chicago. And I most recently started pursuing printmaking. I'm deeply in love with that as well. Most recently, I've been doing screen prints, which allowed me to have a higher level of control over the final print. Each color is printed separately, one layer at a time, and with acrylic paint creating these bold and saturated colors, it's historically known as a powerful tool in political and social activism. So with this piece, come from an experience that recounts my journey to secure U.S. residency for my parents. As a child of Mexican immigrant parents, I faced numerous challenges and bureaucratic hurdles, including a nerve-wracking encounter with our lawyer and Homeland Security. This piece offers a poignant reflection of the struggles and anxieties that come with navigating the immigration system and a deep emotional toll it can take on families like mine. So I recently graduated in the spring with an MFA from the University of Texas at Austin. These installation images are from my thesis show. And I want to close with saying that based on my body of work and my current practice, I am the hyphen between Mexican and American. I'm neither solely Mexican nor solely American, but a combination of both. I am this bridge that connects my family from Chicago, Illinois to Monterrey, Nuevo León. I'm a representation of my parents every time I'm in Mexico. My artistic and academic pursuits have become a powerful tool for healing, not only for myself, but for my family and those who share these similar experiences. And I'm excited to share that I'll be relocating to New York to participate in the Whitney Independent Study Program at the Whitney Museum of American Art, where I will create my first photo book of this body of work and continue to expand on my printmaking practice and dive into video and installation works. Thank you, and I apologize for the technical difficulties.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you all.
Yeah, those were all great. And I think now is a good time to open up the floor for any questions or comments from the audience after hearing these three great presentations. Feel free to drop any questions in the chat if you're shy, and I can read it out as well.
Well, Chantal, I have a question for you about, so when you're talking about the photo transfers, I feel like that material is so perfect for your, the family archive. And, I think I'm a total materials nerd, so I think a lot about what each material means, and how, to me, photo transfers are this perfect representation for memory. And this idea that, memory fades. And so it's a physical representation. There's that, does that material function in that way for you, or are there other meanings using the transfers?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. You kind of took me back to when I was in my residency, because I think before, like, as a photographer, like, in my process as photography, it's like, like getting the shot, and making sure like the print is pristine, and like all that kind of stuff. And when I started getting into image transfers, I started really embracing mistakes, and just kind of like, I guess in a sense, like witnessing and listening to the material, and just like, because every image transfer, it wasn't perfect. And I was like, no, this is okay. It's supposed to be this way. Like, what does it mean? What is it telling me? So it was kind of like, yeah, like having a conversation with like these materials. And I completely agree that it's a great metaphor. Like the image transfer is a great metaphor for memory, because, like you said, it's not always how you remember things, are not exactly how it happened, or it changes over time. And so yeah, I feel like doing that with image transfers is like a perfect bridge for that metaphor.
Nice. I have a question for, oh, Allie, do you have a question for your raised hand?
Yes, hello. Sorry to just be a talking head here without my video on. Um, but I had a question for Jennifer. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about your experience posing and directing your family, and some of the images that you showed.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. My images are both stage and candid, but I'll switch those around. Like they're more candid than it is stage. Because when I lived with my family, it was so easy for me to kind of document them just because they were so easily accessible. And so every time we're like hanging out, we're spending time with each other, I would just run, and there's like a moment where they're like in the kitchen, or like my grandmother is like in the living room. I just immediately run to get my camera, and I told them to hold still. And then I like direct them, and I tell them like, oh, like look in the mirror, or like, oh, like look at your blood or your pressure. Um, and what's really great about moving away from them and having the space between us, not only have our significantly healed our relationship together, through space and time, and through this body of work, this collaboration that we have with each other, um, I was able to really think very thoughtfully and more intensely, and looking through all these variety of images that I have between the last 5 years, I was able to determine what is it that I'm missing. Like, do I need more still lifes? Do I need more portraits? Do I need more landscapes? And that was able to help me determine like to actually stage a photograph. So like with the image of my brother and I embracing each other, like that wasn't a candid moment. That was definitely staged. And that's when he was visiting me in Austin. So I was like, oh, like we don't have a picture together, and we need something that symbolizes our relationship with each other, and how we have this like connection where we have each other if anything happens to our family. So that's initially what my thought process was like, and how it is now. And it's really exciting for me, because now that my family are in Chicago and I'm here and I'm moving further away, it's really fun to learn what else that I need, and how I could continue shooting and documenting these images.
Yeah, thanks. That's really interesting, because some of them it's hard to tell whether it was candid or not. So it's interesting to see behind the scenes kind of your thought process on what you're looking for and what you just came across. So thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you for the question.
Yeah, I love how both of you are collaborating with your families for the photography. I mean, collaborating to a degree, of course they have to be. Yeah.
But I think when I approach it with intention, and I'm like, and usually I'll have a sketch, and I'm like, it's gonna look like this, and then they're like, okay.
Yeah, was that always easy for you, Jennifer? with your family? Are they just totally flexible about this? Like, it doesn't sound like there's a ton of resistance.
They, at first, it was a little difficult. It started with my grandmother. I started documenting my grandmother, just because I had a fear of like all these hospitalizations. I didn't know what was her future, so I was constantly spending so much time with her, and she just didn't mind it. She felt like a celebrity when I was taking pictures of her. So she's always ready for the camera. Um, but once I directed my focus with my parents, they were a little less hesitant with me about it, but they, little by little, they were able to contribute just because of things between us were becoming more intense, in terms of their status and what we were going through. And they realized how significant this body of work was. So that meant a lot to me. I think the hardest person to photograph was my father. He was like, I can't be in front of the camera. I'm like shy. I can't. I don't want to participate. But then he eventually came around, after numerous conversations.
It's cool that they get the meaning. Yeah, not everyone's family can like get there, even if they're living the experiences that you're, communicating in your work.
No, absolutely. I mean, it took a lot of time and effort to get to this point where I'm able to have like very honest and transparent and current conversations with my family. They used to be super close-minded and like very unaware of a lot of things, like personally and politically. But I think after just like sitting down and having space and meeting each other, I think we all met in the middle, and it was very, very powerful.
Darcie, I have a question for you, because you were talking about how your installations are very focused on community engagement, and I was just sort of wondering about how that like feedback you've gotten on that, or how your relationship to the Austin community has changed or evolved from your shows.
Yeah, so some of my community engagement work is totally, actually, a lot of it is completely separate from my actual artistic practice. But I'll stay focused on the part that is directly united with the immersive experience of the installation work. So especially recently, I've been really, really pleased with people's experience of the work when I am not there to tell them, give them any pointers. Like at the Doherty Art Center show, I just left flashlights out and initially didn't even put a sign telling anyone what to do with them. And like this material, this reflective material, it really doesn't look like it'll light up or do anything interesting. But people totally figured it out and just, had this process of discovery on their own and talked to each other. And that's a huge, that's a really, really big part of it, of the community building, is sort of encouraging people to have these experiences of discovery and then feel present in their bodies and be excited, and then talk to other people who are in the gallery or whatever exhibition space or outside, because I also do create outdoor pieces. But yeah, so I've definitely received an increasing amount of feedback about people sharing those experiences with each other, and then sort of like teaching each other, like, oh, you should do this with a flashlight. Like, did you see this? And then they start this whole conversation. And through this experience of individuals like being excited about these materials, they're like feeling their physical presence, sharing it with other people and connecting directly, instead of like being, on their like absorbed into the phone, like taking photos of the show, putting it on Instagram, and having that sort of false connection that all or like most of us have experienced. So I think that's a roundabout answer to your question
No,
about like very direct, like just like material is amazing. Like this world is amazing. Every little piece of this, we're so lucky, you know? So I like really enhancing those moments of discovery and building community through that. And it is actually effective. And I'm super excited.
yeah, that's awesome. I like how you're redirecting away from the phone, because that's also such a huge mode of sort of like that a tool that so many artists use, that it can kind of go too far. But I think as it gets closer to 1, unless there are any other lingering questions, I just want to reiterate some upcoming events that are also in the chat, as well as the websites and Instagram handles of our 3 artists. So Darcie, you've got the 2 shows, Umlof and Ikosa, as well as the artist talk coming up. Chantal, you're at the Line Residency with a closing party coming up tentatively October 5th. And then Jennifer, congratulations on the Whitney Independent Study. And she'll also be having a show at the VAC next March. So also for women that work, of course, we have our Red Dot Art Spree, where all of the work from these artists will be included. So it'll give you a great chance to invest in their art and also invest in your art collection. But thank you guys so much for your great presentations, and look forward to see what you guys are working on in the future.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks
you.
so much.
Yeah, sorry, that was a sort of long spiel, but also thank you everybody in the audience for joining us. And this session will be is being recorded and will be uploaded onto our YouTube and website in the coming days. So hope you guys all have a great rest of your Thursday.
you.
Thank you.